Tappy Chat. It's Tappy Chat. Tappy Chat.
Hi and welcome everyone to another episode of a Tappy Chat. I'm Alex and I'm here to chat to you about all things parenting, caring for young ones, anything that kind of comes up on that tricky journey we have from naught to, well, whenever, 18 and plus. I have a feeling that parenting never ends, it just changes. This episode today is one that has really stuck with me. I am in the throes of this big time. It was a nightmare with my first child and it's even worse with my second, so I felt like it deserved a whole podcast session all to itself and hopefully someone to talk some sanity and help us through it. I'm talking potty training. It is the worst in my experience. I hear these mythical stories of some people go, oh no, it's a piece of cake, couple of weeks, couple of days, yeah, oh, she just wanted to be potty trained. My kids do not want to be potty trained. They have given no signs, no clues, and it's a battle. It's a battle that I'm now on the clock with because I have until September to get him fully into pants. So I have turned to the incredible Lauren Dyer of Lauren Educates, who works with, well, particularly my son at the moment, she is my cohort in this. And what I've found with potty training is you need to get everyone on side and you need someone who's got your back and is determined as you are. Lauren, thank you for joining us first of all and taking a few moments out of your crazy time with kids and your own to try and fit in some potty training advice. Why don't you give us a little bit about who you are? You will do a better intro than I am doing because I am just waffling at the moment because my head is just full of pottiness.
That's okay. Well, yes. Hi, Alex. My name is Lauren Dyer. I have worked with children for nearly 10 years now, mainly in early years. I'm currently a preschool room manager. So the age that I work with currently is between 2 to 4. I enjoy, outside of working with children in an educational setting, I run classes for children with special educational needs. I create workshops for parents that are getting ready for that school transition as well. I'm also a children's author as well, so I write books about emotional well-being, emotional regulation are really big parts of what I do as well. And in terms of potty training, I used to educate a lot about it, and then I had my own child and had to put that all into actual real life. Thankfully, I was able to do it, but I understand the pure stress that it does bring, especially when it's your own child versus me telling parents, oh, it's fine, it will be easy, a few days, but there's actually more to it than just that as well.
Yeah. I've been kind of, well, I mean, I've been in it, but I'm deep diving into it, and I just feel like it's not a skill of its own. You know, it's not just a little milestone that you tick off. It feels like it's got so many connections emotionally, it's communication, it's so much going on there that I feel like you have to kind of unpack each child to kind of work out what works for them. Let's start with the beginning. So a parent comes to you and goes, right, I want to potty train my child. And you go, okay.
Okay.
Is there a right age, wrong age? Is that a complete myth to begin with, that there's an age for potty training? Or is it a state of mind?
I believe there's truth in the myth as well. So I do believe, obviously, there are some people that speak about like elimination communication, and you start from newborn.
Yes.
That's something I've never fully understood, but to an extent, it does make sense. I think it's in the same category as using stabilizers on a bike or armbands for swimming. Some
Yeah.
people just start without them, in hopes that then they don't have to unteach such a thing. Me
Yeah.
personally, I was not going to hold my newborn over a potty every 10 minutes and wait for the
What's
signs
going
that
on?
they
Yeah.
show you. To me, that doesn't seem like a thing, but I have seen people do it successfully. That's a separate thing. But I think when it comes to age, every child, and this is about everything, not just potty training, but every child is completely unique. So you might have a child who starts walking at 11 months and by 13 months, they're ready to use the potty. And you have some that they reach 4 years old and they're still just not ready yet. I think it's all about a child's mental state as well, because some children, they just don't have that urge. They don't mind having a nappy. They love having their nappy changed. And then you have some children that they'll do a poo and they're like, nope, I absolutely hate this. Get it off of me right now. So every child is unique. They do say the age is between about 18 months to about 24 months. That is quite the main time that they do it. I do think in the world of childcare, it does make it a lot easier once they transition to like different rooms. By the time they hit that like 2-year-old room, they like to start getting them out of nappies at that point.
Yeah.
Because then it makes it easier for that preschool transition, that they're ready from there to go forwards. But as I've said, every child is different.
Are there signs that you look for to sort of say, I think this child might be ready?
There are, I think, in different areas. So mainly communication is a main one. So if a child is quite good at telling you the things that they like, the things that they don't like, you'll have a lot of children that'll be like, "Mm, I don't want pasta, I want rice." Well, if you
Isn't that
can
every
communicate
2-year-old?
this, but if you're able to communicate your likes, your dislikes, if you're able to, for example, if they're playing in water play and they show discomfort of, oh, my clothes are now wet as
Yeah.
well, that shows that they might be able to understand the difference of, I've wet myself down there as well versus being dry. That's something to look for. Some people do say there are like signs when somebody's about to go to the toilet. When I was potty training my daughter, I sat, just stared at her and I was like, what's your signs? I
What's your
don't
poker
believe that
tell?
there
Where's
are.
your face?
Yes. Are you gonna do a? Some children like do a wiggle when they need to go. One thing I do experience a lot at work is that a lot of children do then hold themselves.
Yeah.
Mainly the boy children, they do hold themselves because they can sense it coming. But for the most part, like you'll see in like childcare blogs, they might squeeze their hand like this or
Oh.
blink a certain way. I've personally never seen that. I
Mm.
just see a child playing and then I see a puddle.
Yeah.
It's very rare that there's a sign until they get used to that sensation of being wet, for example.
Mm.
It can take a while to see those particular signs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Gosh. And they're common kind of signs that parents mistake for readiness. Like, I don't know. I can have quite a chatty child and quite a demanding child, but he's not ready. Or was he ready? Or was it? I sometimes think that it's not so much the child's readiness, it's the parents' readiness.
Yeah.
The kind of, we had quite a few. We did it with both of them. We thought we saw a sign of readiness. Like we had a fluke couple of successes on a potty and went, right, we're ready, we're off, let's go.
Yes.
But he wasn't ready and we weren't ready, and ultimately we ended up taking a break from it and trying again at a later point. So it's really hard to kind of gauge from the parents as well as the child whether you're really ready or not. Or does it matter? Does it matter if they're ready or not? Can you kind of start training them?
Mhm. I think that is actually a thing that some parents do as well. A child finds comfort usually in not changing their routine. So a child
Yes.
could happily stay in nappies for as long as they want because to them, this is what they're used to. So
Mm.
sometimes there's a bit of having to take them out of that comfort zone to show them, actually, look, we can try this now, for example. So I do think there are ways that there are. It's an interesting one because
Mm.
some children are never truly ready before you do it. And I think it is about knowing my child could be ready, so let's see. So I've had a few children before when I'm doing like nappy changes during the day. I will go to take the nappy off. I go, let's sit on the potty, put your nappy back on. Those are the children that are just like starting to get into it.
Mm.
Parents might have suggested, I think they might be ready. And you can tell in those instances, is a child ready? Because you might say, okay, let's sit on the potty before I put your nappy on. A lot of children, they're like, yeah, okay, cool, I'll do it because I think also being in a childcare environment, the influence is always there. It's the
Yeah.
same as like parents will say, "Oh, well, my child doesn't eat salmon bulgur wheat at home." They do at nursery because of the influence of other children.
Mm.
So whilst you're changing a nappy, that child can see other children going to the toilet, for example, asking for tissue to wipe themselves. And they see that as a milestone of independence for them. So they might then be like, okay, I'm going to try and sit on the potty.
Mm.
And sometimes it does work. You might have those fluke moments where they're like, oh, but today they actually then did a wee in it.
Mm.
Is it that they're ready? Is it just that the wee came out? You don't know just yet. But it is something that children do get quite excited about eventually. Some children don't, but a lot of children, they start to see, okay, there's a level of independence. So things like reading books about potty training as well. They'll see in the book, oh, well, this person uses the potty. They get a sticker, for example, or things like that. Incentives as well that can contribute to readiness. Not in a bribe way. I do like the word incentive because a
Yeah.
child, they especially stickers, it's insane how great stickers work for everything.
Mm.
But it is that joy of, oh, I get a sticker, and after a while, you don't have to use them anymore. But it's things like that can contribute to like readiness as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We tried. Well, we've pretty much tried everything, every form of incentive. But I think what was hard was because, certainly with my son, he hated having his nappy changed, but wanted a nappy. And really pushed back at, the more you try to encourage, the more he would push back. So the more you get stressed and like, just sit on the potty, just sit on it, sit on it, sit on it, the more it became a thing of fear. So I very much had to take a step backwards and go, okay, well, that doesn't work. And I'm trying to make it fun and I'm doing a song and a dance, but he has to kind of have his mindset ready to do it, and I have to be able to step back and allow him that space to do it. So I mean, we got into the situation where he will do it now, providing he's naked from the waist down. He will independently go and go, all right, okay, I need a wee, and disappear off. Sometimes he'll just go to force himself to try and do one to get a sticker. He's not quite connected up the dots of the feeling of needing to going, and then getting a sticker. It's very much right. She's told me to go. I'm going to go. I've done a droplet of wee. Where's my sticker? But the moment there's cloth touching him, pants or trousers or clothes, that's like an automatic barrier again. That's like,
Yes.
that's like something shutting off his mind from thinking about the potty.
That is something that's true. They do say like, especially the most popular way I'd say of like potty training, they have that thing of from the waist that for the first 3 days, waist down, nothing on, then introducing like pants or something because
Mm,
to a child they sometimes do feel any form of material. It could be just pants, it could be like potty training pants which are a bit thicker. They
mm,
feel that and instantly they're like, I'm back in a nappy, I can let it go.
yeah,
Which does it's very hard to teach a child that yes, this is on, but it's not on to catch the accidents. We still need to get them off to
yeah,
use the toilet. Obviously, I know we've had the conversation before. I wish in the nursery we could just let them all just run free, but for many reasons we're not allowed to, which does make it harder. I do find potty training in the childcare sector a
mm,
difficult one because also with the amount of children that we have all at once, and it's like you want to be there to be like, I can tell when you're about to go, let's go. But you might like get thrown off for 1 second because you're reading a book with a group of children and then the accidents happen and you're like, no, we were so close. um
mm,
but I think it is that feeling when they are completely naked and free, their heads for some reason. I've tried asking children. It's like I do like little research with children as well. They can't tell me, but I do ask. I'm like, what makes your brain say I need to wee?
mm,
Because as an adult, we're able to realize it. I've even asked my daughter the same conversations. We could be playing, and then she goes, "I need a wee." I'm like, okay. And she'll take herself to the toilet and she'll go,
brilliant.
or when she needs to poo, she'll go, I need to poo. I'm like, okay, great, go and do it. And I go,
Mm,
but how did you know that? And she just looks at me and says, I just need my wee mum. I said, oh, okay, fine. I'm just trying to understand the psychology behind it, but
yeah.
she has no clue what I'm talking about. But and they also do say there is a difference in terms of anatomy with boys and
I
girls
was
as
wondering, I
well.
was going to ask actually if it's easier with girls.
So they say it is different because of the way that the urethra connects to girl parts versus boy parts, there is a difference. So if people say that there isn't, there is. It
Mm,
doesn't mean that boys can't learn to potty train, obviously,
mm,
but the way that their brains process the feeling is very different.
mm.
So that's also part of it as well.
It
But
seems to be a lot more
yeah,
last minute.
yes,
It is very much like even my 7-year-old, when he says he needs a wee then.
right
We
now.
can't plan ahead. That it's now. He's left that feeling in the back of his mind somewhere until now.
Yes, it does. I think distractions do come into play when a child is really hyper focused, really busy.
Mm,
They do just forget, and it does happen,
mm,
and it can happen a lot. There's times at the nursery, for example, we will have two children wetting themselves a lot during the same day, and then like the next day, one might come in and there'll be only like one accident, and then the next day there'll be like five, and it's just like
mm.
what goes on in the brain to be like, today's the day I'm going to make sure I use the toilet. I do think in terms of your child has come a really long way. In before it was like the biggest struggle to be like, let's go to the toilet. It's like, no,
Terrified.
no.
He had actually developed a fear of the toilet. It was getting to be, yeah, an issue.
I think the
Um,
main thing that does work right now is doing it at transition times. So for a child that really likes the routine of doing things and knowing like we go outside at this time and then we have lunch at this time, for example, when we're about to go outside, I always ask, what do we need? It was like shoes on, toilet,
yeah.
always now. So it's that thing of something connects to it.
Mm,
We might be playing outside and then I'll go, oh, who needs the toilet? So it's not just one child that I'm like, you need to go to the toilet. Let's go
we
as a
all go.
group. We'll go
Yeah.
to the toilet and then come back out as well.
Mm,
I think that pushback does come from wanting autonomy as well. So it's
yes.
that feeling of you will not make me go right now. I
Mm,
will go if I want to go, but you will not make me go. So I always, one of my biggest phrases in childcare is you have to scam the scammers. Children are they think they're very good at getting their own way, but adults are always one step ahead. So I
mm.
always say with children, it's that thing of, okay, right now, I need you to go because if you don't go, you will wet yourself. So it's that thing of, oh, I think I need to go to the toilet. How about you go toilet first, and then I'll go to the adult toilet, and then I'll come back. And that sense of, oh yeah, I'm gonna go toilet first. To them, they
Mm.
don't realize what you've done, but it's little things like that rather than demanding from them. It's finding other ways around that
Other way to frame
situation.
it. Yes, I've noticed that because
Always,
the pressure of like, please just go to the toilet. Then we can do, please just go to the toilet. We tried our first because it's one thing to do it at home. It's another thing to try and venture out to the park
yeah,
and carry on that training. So I dragged this big potty with me because it's the only one he's comfortable with. And we went to the park and I positioned it next to a bench. And I said, right, this is your toilet station. And I said, right, there's 3 slides here. So how about we do the toilet, then we do 1 slide, then we do, then we're at
yeah,
various points. It was like, I tell you what, let's do the 2 slides and then we'll do a toilet break. And then we can go and do the swing. So he had a structure and he was like, oh, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. And then he went, right, now time to go to the potty. And we came and it was less resistant than kind of going, can you please have a wee before you wet yourself? Because I haven't come out with enough trousers. But yeah, I find it really hard to continue the work, especially as I have him say a Tuesday at the weekends, but the rest of the time he's at nursery. So it's finding a consistent message if you're doing both, if you're nursery training and you're kind of training at home, that you're kind of doing the same things. Do you
yes,
ever sit down
definitely.
and kind of create a plan with parents or check in with what they're doing, or
So
just try and pick
usually,
it up again on a Monday morning and
yes.
go, yeah, we're starting from scratch?
That's usually the hard one. The one thing I always wish I could recommend, which really hard to do, and like obviously as a parent myself, if my daughter's childminder said it to me, I would say, "How do you expect me to do this?" But my greatest thing that I've seen is if, for example, if a child is in, let's just say like Monday to Friday, for example, if a parent ever has that opportunity to take a Friday and the Monday off as like annual leave, if possible, try and for those consistent days, because I do often have the conversation a lot, and it's like we call it the nightmare conversation when a parent goes, "Well, we started on Saturday morning, and we think they're ready to go now on the Monday morning," and we're like, "It does. It genuinely doesn't work like that. We wish it did." But also for a child, I think as adults, we don't see the difference as much.
Mm.
But I have had a few children case studies, I would say, for example, that at home, the parents couldn't understand because they're always going at home. They know how to go to the toilet by themselves. They're using it, for example. Whereas then in the nursery environment, they're having maybe like 6 or 7 accidents in a day. And the parents couldn't understand. But to a child, the environment's very different. At home, their toilet is just their toilet, or their potty is just their potty.
Mm.
Or, for example, they don't have to wait to use it. Even if it's like 5 seconds, someone else is using it, then they need to use it. They don't have that at home. At home,
Yeah.
everything is set up just for them. And I think as well that feeling of having to ask a teacher, for example, I need to go to the toilet, because obviously at home they might be able to go and use it by themselves because they're at home. At
Mm.
nurseries, somebody has to be with them. So I think those new skills on top of learning an already really big skill can throw them off as
Yeah.
well. So ideally, what I do like to do, when we have somebody that's newly potty training, I do like to send out a message on how many, for example, how many pants, how many trousers. One thing that parents like do seem to forget about is like spare shoes. That's very
Socks.
important.
Yes.
Shoes and socks. And also t-shirt for, especially for boy children,
Mm.
t-shirts as well, because if their private parts is angled upwards, that does get on their t-shirts a lot. So I've had that a few times where we've got like 9 pairs of trousers, 10 pairs of pants and everything, but then t-shirts, that's one that does seem to get forgotten about a lot.
Mm.
And I think it's that thing of we always just try, obviously, what we do as most nurseries do. They set a timer, for example, every 15 minutes. When that timer goes off, they know whichever child it is, we need to get them to go and try and use the toilet
Mm.
until they're comfortable with the idea of, I know what I'm doing now as well.
Yeah.
It does also create a good bond between child and staff member as well,
Mm.
because initially a lot of children are very apprehensive. I have one child at the moment. I go put them on the toilet and they go, "Okay, go now." And like I'll step away and they're like, "No, keep going, keep going." And I have to actively go around the corner so that they can do what they're doing, because to them it's a very like private moment. Whereas I've had another child where they're like, "No, you have to stay right here with me while I go." Every child is different, for example. Some children, you have to distract them whilst they're on there, so you'll sing to them or have a particular book that each time they go in there, that's that feeling of, oh, okay, I know what we're supposed to do here. So
Yeah.
then you take the book off the shelf, and it's just something that keeps their brain looking at the book until they subconsciously then just do the we.
Mm.
Because I think another thing as well is time. They do say, but anytime between like 5 to 10 minutes, just let them sit and it comes out as well. And I think the childcare environment has a lot of pressure because everything sometimes moves really fast.
Oh yeah, I
So
couldn't get him to sit down for
yeah,
5 minutes.
yeah.
Like even with a screen or a book or anything, he's not going to sit down for that length of time.
And they're always so busy. They want to
Yeah.
go and play, they want to do something else, which also stops the connection between their brains and their bodies to go, okay, I will fully let it come out. Because that's what a lot of children do as well. They sometimes do a little bit so they can go back to playing, and then it's a few minutes later, they then wet themselves again because they were so ready to go and play. They
Yeah.
didn't fully empty the tank before they carried on. That does happen quite a lot too.
Yeah. And there's quite a big difference between wees and poos in, like we were almost there with Wheeze in many ways, but the poo thing can become something that he'll hold on to
Yes.
because he can feel the pressure of having to perform that, and that takes a little bit longer. So yeah, I think there's definitely more of those accidents, and I'm guessing a different sensation, a different feeling in the brain, a different thing to recognize. I can definitely tell because he hides to do a poo. So I know if he's looking to go upstairs or looking to disappear behind the sofa, I know what's coming.
It's coming. Yeah.
So if I can intercept, great, but also to try and retrain him from something that he's learnt, which is secret. Poo's a secret. Poo's
Yes.
yeah, I'm not gonna, and he won't tell me if he's done one. He'll sit quietly. Yeah, this is a whole another level,
Yeah.
which I just don't know even where to begin with. To be honest, and it's the worst. I just yeah.
I do think that's a good thing to bring up as well, because I have that conversation quite a lot about the like poos being a secretive thing
Mm,
as well. Something I've always done with all children is just teaching them the processes of a body, for example. So
yeah,
children, the funniest thing a child can possibly say that most children would agree with is poo poo or wee wee. To
yeah.
them, that is like the funniest joke in the whole entire world.
Oh
And
yeah.
they don't follow it up. It's just poo poo and everyone's laughing. Because to them it's something that they do think is really funny. And usually when I hear children do that, for example, I'll just ask them, I said, but what is poo poo? And they go, oh, it's just something yucky. And I'm like, but do you know why we do poo poos, for example? So we do have, there's a book at the nursery. It's like 100 questions about like your body or something. And it shows like your intestines, your system, and like your digestive system. And that poo is just your old food coming out of you, for example.
Yeah.
And I always say to the children, I said, is it really a big deal? And they're like, no. And I was like, so now I've just made your joke not funny anymore. I'm sorry. But I need you to understand. So, and I've got a few children as well, like especially when in nappies as well, that look that they did, I like this. And I'm like, are we doing a poo? And they're like, no. And then they run away.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
you
it's
are.
okay. But in terms of sensation, it's a complete different feeling. Wheeze do come out so much easier.
Mm,
And poos, especially for children, it is a very weird feeling.
mm,
Um, Once they start doing it on the toilet, you can see that they enjoy it so much more.
yes.
And I explained to a child, like when you're in a nappy and you do a poo, it doesn't feel very nice, does it? It can be squishy, or if it's hard, then you're trying to sit on the chair and it's just really uncomfortable. And they look at you like, oh, you understand me, kind of thing. And I say, I don't understand, but I can relate in a way. And it's just about getting them used to the uncomfortable feelings, so they suddenly realize, okay, this is where we do it. And especially
Yeah.
like doing a poo in the toilet, I think we've spoken about like the satisfying sound that it makes
Oh, he
when it
loves
hits
that.
the
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Putting emphasis on that does then bring them the joy of, oh, I should do it in the toilet more often,
Mm.
sort of thing as well, which is quite nice. Some
So they
children,
do wait.
yeah,
He will wait sometimes because we're only tackling daytime. We're not tackling nighttime.
yeah,
So I don't know if that's a mixed message for him because he knows he gets one nappy at night. It's his
yeah.
nighttime nappy, and he'll wait for that to go on and then do a poo, and you're just like, ah,
No.
you've been waiting all day for this nappy to go off and do a poo, and it's
And just do it.
really like, why?
It's a hard one. I do think at the age he is as well, having a night nappy is still completely normal.
Yeah,
Because it's like the same as like my daughter as well. She knows you put your nappy on for nighttime. She'll wake up and usually it's completely dry anyways, but
yeah,
I'm not ready to take that. It'll be the one day that I don't. There are sometimes like if we've gone to visit like a family member's house and I've forgotten, I'm like, this is gonna be a risky game. And it's usually fine when we wake up. But I think it's something clicks in their brains eventually, yeah. But that nighttime nappy, he's just so funny. Because why would you just you can do it in the toilet and then put the nappy on for sleep. I
yeah.
think it's a mountain, a very hard mountain to climb, and I think it's not a universal mountain. I believe every parent, every child has their own mountain. So you might be on your one and you
Mm.
can see another child, like another family on their own mountain, and you're wondering, well, why is mine not as easy to climb? And it's just based on every child is just
Like
completely
most
different.
childcare, really, isn't it? I mean, you're raising your children, and the people always say, "Do not compare. Do not compare your child to another child because every child is different." But you naturally do, and it's the same with potty training. You're like, "Oh, he's trained already, and I haven't," and da, 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 da. And it can then manifest. And I swear that potty training feels like it's not just the child; it's me. I have to retrain my brain because as a parent, I'm like, this is the thing you put off because it's all manner of ick, and basically potty training is messy, and it involves wee and lots of cleaning and lots of potential accidents, so you have to embrace that. For me personally, I had to kind of overcome that because I think unless you go fully into just, I'm just going to deal with whatever washing comes my way, whatever floors need doing, whatever happens when we're out, unless I can get over myself and not be so stressed about it, we're not going to accomplish anything because that stress, they pick up on that stress straight away.
That's
It's
one
so hard.
thing children are very, very good at. I think picking up on any form of stress or
Mm,
a slight change of tone in your voice, they pick up on it so easily. I think
mm.
it's a skill that everybody that especially works in childcare, you learn very early on that doesn't matter what you have to say, it's always about the way that you say it, the way that
Yeah.
you do it. If you even show a slight amount of fear, they feed.
Yes.
They do
They've
feed on
got
it, and
you.
bless them, they're just doing what they know to do.
Yeah.
And I think parents and adults, it is a retraining aspect. We have
It's
like,
very easy to tell them off, and you shouldn't be telling them off. They've had an accident, and your response to that accident is what frames. It's hard though because
yes,
you don't
it's
want to give them permission to go, well, hey, just wee on the floor. That's
yeah.
absolutely fine. But
That's a big one that I have a lot of conversation about with parents as well, is the phrase "it's okay." That's the
yeah,
one phrase that it's really hard to tell parents this a lot, but I have to, you cannot say that phrase. You can't. There's many ways that you can go around it, but using
yeah,
that phrase, like if they went and said, "Oh, it's okay," that does cause difficulty. But then you don't want your child to feel like, "Oh my God, I've done something so bad." So it's just about,
same.
it's a lot of like matter of fact of, you can see what's happening. Oh, I can see you've done a wee, or we've wet ourselves. This is where we do our wees, isn't it? Let's get you changed, for example. It's a very hard one because like if you do the, oh, it's okay, it's like, oh, it is okay. I can wee on the
It's
floor.
fine. Yeah,
Children are very matter of fact, so they will hear that and go, yes, it's okay. It is, you can say it isn't, it's normal to have accidents. That's something, I think I use that phrase 10,000 times a day. And accidents do happen. And this is what we can do to not have any accidents.
yeah,
Some children like a game as well. And I go, oh, while I'm like changing them, I go, oh, and then I can do a wee wee in the garden. And then they go, no, not the garden. I'm like, oh, maybe at the lunch table. And they're like,
mm,
no. I go, oh, sorry. Where do we do our wee wees? And they go, in the toilet.
yeah,
So that's another way of getting them to do it themselves without you telling them this is where you do it. Some
yeah,
children like that gamified aspect.
yeah.
On the
I
flip
try and
side,
apply adult logic to him, and I'm just like, where do you do your toilet, your wheeze and poos on the toilet? So why did you do one in your nappy? Why did you do it in your nappy? I just did, like, oh, but why?
it is,
Why didn't you do it on the
yeah.
toilet where it sounds really
And
cool? Why didn't you do that?
and you show them, and you're like, the toilet's right here and it looks amazing and it's fantastic.
Uh,
Look at this amazing toilet.
mm,
So I do think children, logic is a skill that is learned. Children are not naturally logical. They like to
yeah,
just do things. They like cause and effect. They like, well, if I do this, let's find out what happens. So it is a skill, and like through potty training as well, it's a skill that does develop, for example. So
yeah,
that first time that you're out and about and they finally say to you, like, I need a toilet, and you take them, that is a skill all of its own, because it's
yeah,
not only they went to the toilet, but it's that realization, that being able to stop whatever it is that they're doing. There's
yeah,
so many skills that come into that, which is bigger just than, oh, they went to toilet, for example. And it could be, or like, for example, if you go to a new environment, you're at like a friend's house, for example, and they ask to go then, for example, that's another skill in its own as well, because a lot of children get used to, this is my potty at my home, this is how I do it. That first time that they use it somewhere else, that's another milestone in itself as well. So I do think, or going to the park, for example, coming home, they haven't had any accidents. That's a skill in its own as well. They might not have like used the potty you brought with them on the outing, but they didn't have any accidents as well. So children also learning that element of holding it in safely, because there is holding it in not safe, like an unsafe way. I have a child currently at the moment that like nearly 9 hours of the day holds it in, and I'm constantly on the edge of, we need to let it out, it's okay. So we started getting better. Now it's like every maybe 4 hours, but I'm like, it needs to be a bit more consistently. So it's things like that to watch out for, is going too often and then not going often enough. It
Right.
can show signs. But with my own daughter, for example, we can go out for 3 hours. We could drive all the way to Coventry to my auntie's house, and she'll go before we leave. When we get there, she's like, I'll go to the toilet now. But in between, I'm like, do we need to stop? She's like, I don't need a wee wee right now. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
And there are some children that every like 15 minutes, like, I need to go to the toilet, I need to go to the toilet, I need to go to the toilet. Even if they haven't had like an influx of water or anything like that, they just naturally need to go. Every child's
Yeah.
different.
You take them too many times then as a parent when you're just being a bit hyper vigilant and set them on a
Yes,
course of just
but
not
that
quite
being,
releasing what they
yeah,
should anyway,
just,
because
I
yeah,
think so. I think when they first start, that every like 15 minutes is like the kind of like golden rule that they put in place as well, until a child starts to realize, actually, I don't need to go every 15 minutes. But it's getting them used to the idea of, this is why we are going to the toilet. If something comes out, it does. If it doesn't, and I think parents especially, it's how you handle those moments. Because if you're taking them every 10 minutes and they might go that first 10 minutes and then not for like the next like third 10 minutes, for example,
yeah,
and you're like, well, you need to do something, you need to do something, that doesn't always, but it can create a form of anxiousness
yeah.
around
I
it
was gonna
as
say it's
well.
almost like a performance
um
anxiety,
because
isn't
then,
it?
yes, and it's like, okay, I will do it, I will, but
Mm.
maybe their bodies just don't need to. So it is, with every child is different. And I think waiting for the cues that we spoke about before, once you are used to your child going and stuff, you will start to notice, actually, they usually go around, like with my daughter, for the first 3 days. I had my notebook and my pen constantly, and I was like, okay, so she's just with herself now. So that means that she might do it again. It was
There's no,
absolutely rubbish. I think the first 2 days, because it was so sporadic. And I always knew that, well, I changed her nappies at this time, this time, this time, and she's always done a poo at like in this nappy or a wee in this nappy, so that must be when she did it. But for all I know, I've changed her at 1 o'clock, but she might have done that wee at 12:30 or 12:15. You don't know. So it's, once you take the nappies away, you can very much see exactly when those moments happen.
mm,
Um, but yeah, you would think there's like a pattern to it. And yeah, those first 3 days, I was like, but yesterday she did it at this time. And I'm like, I realized after a while, I just put the notebook away. I said, this is not working. I
no,
will just figure it out as we go
yeah,
along. And I tried that thing where they did the first 3 days, nothing on at all.
mm,
I was quite fortunate that I had 7 days consecutively that I was like, this is it. This is the week. This is the time we're gonna figure it
yeah.
out.
You've locked your head into
Um,
it as
because like
well.
we're
Yeah,
gonna do it. It is before I went back to work as well, so we had the time for me to do it. And I said, we're just gonna do it. We're just not gonna leave the house. I don't remember what fresh air felt like during that time. We just stayed in the house for those days. And the first three, by the end of that three, I realized, the people that speak so highly of that method, I said, oh, it actually worked. And by day four, it was consistent. I still didn't put pants on. I wasn't ready yet. I was just like, we're just gonna free ball it. It's okay.
yeah,
But then it was then consistently. She was like, potty. I was like, okay, go. And I'm just watching. I'm like, it's like watching, I'm watching a deer through the bush. And I was like,
Mm.
just you do your thing. I'm gonna just observe. And definitely by the end of those 7 days, I was just like, what did I put this off for? It just
Yeah.
worked.
Well, I
But
think
in
children respond to like it's like an intensive crash course, isn't it?
yes,
It's their eat, sleep, and drink. It's for 7 days. That's all we're doing. So you're gonna get it
it's
at
just gonna
some point.
work.
Yeah.
But with that conversation we had before about comparison, for example, I have a niece who's 6 months younger than my daughter, and when they're actually still in the throes of it now,
Mm.
my sister-in-law saw that my daughter was doing it. She's like, oh, of course we can do this. It's going to be the same. It's going to be easy. And I
Yeah.
remember one night my sister-in-law called me and she was crying. And I was like, what's wrong? She was like, she's just not doing it. And I was like, okay, but maybe she's just not
No.
ready yet. And that's okay. Um, and she does often come to me with like for advice about
Yeah.
children in general. But with that one, she just couldn't understand. She was like, but I'm doing it exactly how like I saw you doing it and this, that, whatever. And I was just like, I tell you this all the time. Since they were born, every child is different.
Yeah.
So I think that helped a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still doing it here and there now. And I've said like when I went, they live really far away. So when I went up there and I was like, every time my daughter went, I was like, oh, do you want to go? And like they would both go and things like that. And I was like, just don't put the because she can feel. I said, if I can feel your energy, trust and believe she can feel it
Yeah.
too. And I said, let's just take some deep breaths. Let's calm it down. And I think that leads back into the conversation of as a parent, it's retraining your own self. So your
Yeah.
child may be potty training, but you are also potty training too, as
Yeah.
well.
I think that's
Um,
quite key. I was going to say, what do you say if a parent just feels like right now someone's listening and they're just failing? They feel like they're failing. I mean, what do you say other than take a breath?
I would say the first thing, any form of parenting advice I give in general is always, it does actually always start with the regulate yourself. I believe that especially parenting, it's something a lot of people have either been doing for the first time or even if you're on your third or fourth child, you learn every child is different. And I think it's about figuring out what you can do as a parent
Mm,
to make this easier for your child as well. So I think any parent, I would say to them, perseverance is key.
mm,
I do feel like every child can be capable. There are different reasons as well. For example, talking about children with SEN, for example, is a whole different kettle of fish, but they all
incredibly sensory experience, isn't it? So
yeah.
yeah,
And for example, like a lot of children with SEN, they actually love that feeling of having accidents. And it's a very interesting one because obviously especially with like autism for example a spectrum is very vast so you might have some children on one side of the spectrum that feeling of wetting themselves feels really good to them and then the other side of it where you've got some children that are like nope this is the worst thing ever which both elements could make potty training really hard because a child that does then have an accident they might not be able to process that feeling and it then becomes the worst thing to them um, and then a child that loves the aspect of wetting themselves may then do it consistently for that feeling as well
yeah,
um, but with a parent I think it's if you can persevere I think especially by the age of 2.5, 3 is a really good time to start. Doesn't mean they'll get it instantly.
yeah,
I think especially if you have like a child that's going off to like a preschool, for example, or a 4-year-old going to like primary school, for
yeah,
example, it is a very, very key time to just try. I think it is the fear of putting a lot of pressure on a child can make or break a potty
yeah,
training experience. I think from
yeah,
the start where it's having the right type of books around like my main top tips would be like having certain books around for example that
mm,
frame potty training in a really positive light. I think there's so many books out there at the moment you can find a book that has a child that looks exactly like yours as well.
mm,
So some books there's like I think it was Princess Polly and Prince Pete, for example. Those different types of books. Parents of ethnic backgrounds, they make books as well with children that look like their child as well. So you can say, oh, well, look, things like that. I think potties as well. I always say to a parent, if you're buying that first potty, customize it. Put as many of their favorite stickers, get them to put the stickers on. If
Yeah.
your child loves dinosaurs and Peppa Pig and Paw Patrol, you can make a dinosaur, Peppa Pig, and Paw Patrol potty. And could they have a change of interest in a couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. But that's the best part. Scrape the stickers off, get a whole new set of stickers. I think having a child involved in the process makes them feel so much more committed to the cause as well. Because you might buy something that you're like, my child will love this. And they will look at it, they will look at you and go, nope, don't want it. So giving them that opportunity to be involved and saying, well, look, I've got these stickers. Maybe we could put some on and make it look super cool, for example.
Yeah.
And getting them involved in that process. If it's the timer technique that you want to go for, maybe every 10 minutes when you hear the timer, let's go. You could have one of those kitchen timers, for example. They can press the button, they know in 10 minutes it will go off, for example.
Yeah.
That could be something. Some children like sand timers as well. It's about especially your child's interest, because yeah, with a sand timer versus like some children like a timer on their parents' phone, for example.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of children that they play on like mummy and daddy's phone a lot, so they'll be like, oh yeah, I know how to go to the clock, for example, and set a timer. Whereas a sand timer for some children is a bit more visual. The one with the buttons on it, it makes a sound. They may like the sound of the buttons as well. So those are different elements as well. Because when you read any parenting blog, they'll say incorporate some form of timer. They don't specify what kinds of timers. There's so many options. And I think those all tie into from the start, from how you
A
start.
routine, isn't it? Yeah.
It does. And children, any child, it doesn't matter if they're a child with SEN or neurotypical child, every child loves a good routine. They like consistent transitions. They like to feel like they're involved in a process as well. So I think it is having that mind frame around it can really help as well.
Yeah. And I found that what really helped was having you guys and having the support of the nursery as well, because there's times when you start to flag when you're taking 10 bags of clothes home and you're just like, oh my goodness, what have I done? And I had it with my eldest, and the nursery were like, we're gonna have to put a pull up on him, it's just not working. And if they're being negative, and it starts to change your mind. But you were like, I could sense at the point that I dug in, you were like, or I was wavering and going, oh, shall I give up again? And you're like, no, I have dug
We'll
in,
do it.
we're gonna make this happen, I've set a
We'll
deadline,
do it.
we're gonna, and this is my mission to make this happen. And I was like, oh wow, yes, someone's on that. So it kept me on that mission, and it made me feel like I wasn't doing a crap job, and that we might actually, be working towards a common goal. So it's very much getting everyone on side. It was getting my husband on side, and knowing that he understands the same routine, and putting everyone in that same boat. And my older sibling, everyone knows that we are potty training my youngest, and this is how it's going to go.
Yes.
And yeah, it's surprising how much, as a parent, how much support you need. You just need someone in your corner going, you're doing the right thing, it's gonna get there eventually. It's such a short period of their entire lives, but it's a very intensive one, and it's
And that's,
not
yeah.
straightforward. You're gonna go forwards and backwards, and
Exactly. And that's the thing when you say it, is it such a small period of their life. While you're in it, it feels like the trenches. I always say it's part of the trenches, the same way that some people go through like the newborn trenches.
yes,
Some people act like it isn't. Me personally, trenches, World War I trenches. And for example, like the age that my child is now, to me is the best age. But I do think I worked with children of this age for so long.
yeah,
This is what I was waiting
familiar,
for.
yeah,
And every area, for example, when your child is first learning to read and write, that's a different trench. I think parenting, and it's not to put like a negative look on it, but
Battle on it.
every part of parenting comes with a different trench. Some are deeper than others, for example, and it's because it sometimes feels like something you can't get out of.
Yeah.
Um, and looking at the grand scheme of things, eventually you will. It's just really hard that in those moments it does feel like the hardest thing ever. And I know when we first spoke about like potty training as well, and I was like, the first week I was just like, yeah, we can do it. And then I got to the middle of the week, I was like, I can't do it. I can't. And I remember like saying to the team as well, I was like, I just can't. And then it was on my lunch break, and I was like, hold on a minute. One thing I don't shy away from is a challenge.
Yeah.
And
It certainly
I
brings a challenge. Yeah.
and obviously I also knew with your time frame of being ready
Yeah.
by September for the next transition as well.
Yeah.
I said no, if I'm not confident in it, who else is going to be? So that's why, like, when I had that conversation with you, and I was like, nope, biting the bullet. Because I think there was the days as well where he'd come in pants, for example, and by the end of the day, I sent him home in a pull up, and I was just like, I tried, but I realized now
Yeah.
that no matter what, you're going to wet yourself. So are we going to do it in a nappy and not learn a skill from it? Or
Yeah.
are we going to just come out and just go for it?
Yeah.
So when we had a conversation, when we do like staff meetings and we have every meeting, we speak about like, this is what we're going to be doing, etc. And I said by the end of July, which it's
Oh
creeping
my
up really
God.
close. I was like, everyone's going to be out of nappies. I didn't say successfully potty training, just everyone out of nappies.
Yeah.
Um, because I do feel like, especially for a child, once they master it, it is so fulfilling to see them learn it as well. And I said that to staff as well. I said, the day when these children go home and they've had no accidents, you're
Yeah.
going to feel great about that
Oh
as
my God,
well.
it's amazing.
Um,
Even like one or two, you're like,
and like we've had some days where
yeah.
I've come to you and I've just been like, look at this, just one
Yeah.
bag or just two bags. And
Yeah.
like I actually after you leave, I'm just like, I feel great. Like
Yeah.
it's really the small things that make me like keep
Yeah.
going. But I can tell the difference in days as well. It's always just about that consistency of reminding, let's go to the toilet. At this time, just remembering as well. And I'm really fortunate that I've got a team that if I'm in a different group, for example, I know someone will take these children to the toilet.
Yeah.
So that does really work for me. And the amount of times I'll come inside and be like, toilet time to the
Yeah.
staff, and they know, okay, this child, this child, this child. And we do have the moments where in between those times, that's when we do have accidents, and it does happen. I think especially with the weather being warmer as well, there's usually more accidents because we're consuming more water. That's something I notice a lot.
Mm.
Um, but that being said, it's then just being mindful of maybe instead of every 15 minutes, let's do every 10 minutes, for example. And yeah, minimizing the pressure as well does help.
Mm.
And yeah, I think it's a network of people. If everybody's on the same page as you, and for example, if you have a child that might stay at like auntie's house, grandma's house, or something like that, you all have to be on the exact same page.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it before where you'll say to like a grandparent will pick up and you're like, oh, we used the toilet today, we did this, that, whatever. They come back the Monday afterwards and you can just tell
They've been in nappies all week.
somebody didn't follow the routine over the
Yeah.
weekend. And then it's only then when you ask and the parent will be like, oh, yeah, they don't usually do as much. It's like, we can tell. You can
Yeah.
usually tell. And it is a network. It is. And I think it is once you're ready. I think childcare providers also struggle with a lot of, they end up doing it a lot more and then it's not being followed at home as well. So it's about that same communication of if we're going to do it here, you do it at
You should
home
follow it
and
up.
vice
Yeah.
versa. Because
Yeah.
I've
We're not
seen
going to do it
some,
for you. It doesn't work like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I've seen the flip side of it where a parent is super ready to do it, and then I've seen stuff that are like, I don't know about that. So it's about that same page of the same book on the same line. No one's at the top of the page and the end of the page. It's got to be exactly on the same level as well.
Is that the one thing? If you could say, wish that you could say one thing to a parent before they start potty training, is that it? Or what would you say?
I think it's be as confident as you can.
Mm.
I think that's the main thing. Anything involving a child and then especially potty training, it's just pure confidence is all the child needs. The minute that you start to waver, or for example, like even when you think like a child's like not listening and you might be talking to the other parent and you're just like, I just don't know if we can do it, for example. Even small things like that
Mm.
can happen.
Mm.
um I think also one thing I'm quite fortunate with you is like, and usually most conversations about whether it's gone well or not, he's probably already gone down the corridor before I get to, before I can even say anything
Yeah,
anyways,
he's out of here.
which
Yeah.
does make it a lot easier. But I think as well, like something staff do a lot with children as well. Like if we've got a child that's maybe got like a certain type of behavior going on at the moment, or it's to do with potty, anything, we
Yeah.
talk to each other about the child in front of the child, but positively. So we're like, oh, Tommy today has been doing really well using the toilet. It's like, oh, really? Yeah. And then we just move on to the next topic. Or,
Yeah.
do you know something? So and so was really using their kind hands today. Now, you can tell the child's watching, but some children do shy away. When you speak to them directly, they're like, "Mm." But hearing them being spoke about positively
Mm.
does work. So doing it with parents, or like I did it with my mum, for example, the other day as well. And I was like, she has really been using some good manners lately. I was like, well, actually, at my house, she did it. And I was like, yeah, that's really good. And like, I saw her from the corner of my eye. She was drawing her pictures. She was like, smiling. And I was like, so it's little things like that do
Yeah.
give children a confidence boost. So my main thing that I wish I could tell any parent is whole lot of confidence and a whole lot of spare clothes, if I'm
And
honest.
zero emotional attachment to said clothes
Yeah.
because,
If there's,
mine,
yeah,
I'm just like, bin it. Do not
yeah.
keep that. Throw it away.
If there's poo in the
Yeah.
pants, I've
Brilliant.
had that before where parents have like said, and they're like, oh, but I just bought these pants the other day and did it. All you're doing is making a child feel bad. And it's you don't realize it as much. But I have seen it a few times with some people and they'll say like, oh, I just bought these pants. And it's like, okay, it's actually just poo in pants. It's okay. It's okay. I think one thing I did at home, obviously at nurseries, I love parents that tell me just throw them away. I have had some parents before that are like, no, clean it out as much as you can and then give it to me. And I'm like, but
It's a heat
they,
wave in the height of summer. No, no.
please, I've had enough. But there are sometimes, like when I was doing it at home with my daughter, for example, there were some, if it wasn't that much as well, I would show her while I would clean it out and I'd be like, oh, I said nappies are a lot easier to just throw in the bin as well, but sometimes now we have to clean these kind of thing. So it does work. Some children don't like that because it then gives them that more overwhelming pressure of, oh no, I've done something
Done something
wrong.
wrong.
Um,
Yes.
but it's like, or like when my daughter's eating and she makes a mess on the floor, you will have the dustpan and brush, we clean it up because we've made a mess kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I think that works for some children as well, letting them know that like pants are not the same as a nappy. Nappies, we do throw them away a lot easier. And if it's like pants that have like their favorite character on it as well, I'm like, oh, we did a
No.
poo poo on Rapunzel. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, my Rapunzel, and she was like, we're gonna clean it and then we'll not do that again.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the child because some children that does work. Some children are like, oh my goodness, I pooped on Bluey and now it's the worst thing in the world. So it's about the child. Not all things work for every child. But a lot of the times as parents, we will then be like, oh, they got poo on this, or for example, or they weed in their favorite shoes, for example, whatever. But it is that thing of it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen. And think of all of the years of all of the nice clothes that you can buy for them that they won't have accidents on.
Yeah.
But for now, I've had one parent that was really upset that their Burberry got poo on it, for example, and I was like, "You sent your child to nursery in Burberry,
Burberry.
you know." But I always say with all just buy as many, even especially like leggings as well, boys or girls, leggings, tracky bottoms, always light colors as well, because light colors you can see an accident a lot quicker. Darker colors, it's just, it's more about the adult than the child. They don't really care.
Yeah.
But for an adult, you can see the minute on a light blue trousers, the minute that accident is forming, versus if they're in black and you only realize once you've gone to pick them up or hold them and you're like, oh, okay. Because that reaction, I've seen that reaction before where people are like, oh my God, da, da, da.
Yes.
But you didn't realize it, but to the child, they're suddenly like, oh my God, I'm disgusting, as well. And it's like, there's no need to react like that. It's fine. But I've learned over the years, you don't pick up a potty training child. You just don't. Because you
Under
learn,
the
yeah,
arms.
yeah, you always learn the hard way. But yes, that's why I usually recommend
Oh, top tip.
lighter colors.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is. It's just don't be attached to the clothes because
Yeah.
anything can happen. But I say that about any nursery child.
Yeah.
Don't send them in things that could get dirty. Because I've seen it before where a lot of parents are like, oh, but how could they have? I said, children get dirty. It shows that they're having a good time. But most parents are a bit more adverse to wee and poo on things, and
Mm.
it just happens. And like my big no-nos are things with like buttons, zips. Like a lot of jeans have like buttons on them, for example. Things like that for potty training. Anything that's just easy. So
Yeah.
yeah, like elasticated waists, nothing that needs to be tied, for example.
Yes.
Um,
So it's
and
down and
things
off.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really quick.
Quick, easy.
Mm.
Um,
Crocs are amazing. They're just
Crocs
plastic
are
right
the
down.
best.
Uh,
Crocs, if I could have that written in big capital letters for potty training, Crocs are the best. Any form of like croc or like jet foot, like I know like a lot of girls wear like those jelly shoes,
yeah.
sandals as
Yeah.
well.
Anything you can rinse down.
Incredible.
Mm.
Anything. It makes it a lot easier. And like a child, when you can then just rinse them off, dry them quickly with a tissue and put them back on, it makes the transition easier. If they've got like a fabric shoe, for example, that you can't now put it back on them because it's wet, to them, they can be like, oh no, my shoes are now wet. I've made a big mistake as well. So it's anything that can be quick and easy and then you can literally just wash them off, put them back on and be like, let's carry on with our day, for example. It doesn't make such a big change in their day. And it's things like that just makes every part of the experience a lot easier as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And it's those little things that you don't think are that important, but they do all contribute to the bigger picture, which is just having a child that feels willing and able and happy to use the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
We had to get used to the noise of the flush. I think that was a big thing. But he loves now pressing the button. So that's part of it. Press it, send that wee off down to the sea, and then he's got a fun soap that he enjoys.
Use the wash hands.
It's
I think
really interesting. Yeah, I've had to just kind of you sit down and you just because you know your child more than anyone, you have to go, what suits his personality? How am I going to communicate with you? And teach you this. And I, yeah, very quickly learned to not really look at the books, not look at, just create my own rule book that is centered around his
your
likes
own
and
child.
quirks.
Exactly.
And yeah.
It's actually funny you say that about like the sound of the flush as well, because when
Mm.
my daughter was first potty training, we'd go to a certain soft play, for example. She would not use the toilet in there. She
Yeah.
would not do it. And I was like, God, just use the toilet.
Mm.
And it's when one time when I was using the toilet and then she went to put her hands over her ears before I flushed it. And I was like, this toilet doesn't flush the
Oh,
same as my one at home, for example. And like her potty is when she started, my mom was like, "Let's be over the top, get the best potty you can get." And like when you flush it, it goes, "Hooray, you did it!" Like
yeah.
it's so extra, so over the top. And it was actually this morning when she was using it, and I was like, she kept like flushing it or whatever. She does it just for fun now, and I was like, we can actually just retire this potty. We can use the real toilet now. But at the time when we first got it, that encouragement that it gave her
Yeah.
of,
The
"Hooray,
boost.
you did
Yeah.
it!" And I was like, and I messaged my mom and I said, "This is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. You didn't need to." But she was like, "This is what she needs, and it's like a proper big, chunky potty thing."
Yeah.
But yeah, that thing of like flushes or public toilets as well. A
Mm.
lot of children naturally they don't like dryers
Yeah,
as
they're
well. So
very
that changes
noisy. Yeah.
the first time you take your child, your potty training child, to a new environment to use a toilet. being mindful of the fact of someone outside of that bathroom stall might be using a dryer. That can throw a child off as well. It's sometimes a lot easier to look at the world through the eyes of through a child, for
Yeah.
example. And then like some bathrooms have a really hard flush to do. Children that like that feeling of flushing their toilet, for example, that would upset them if they're like, well, I can't flush this one.
Yeah.
I've seen it before. A child I used to nanny as well. If he couldn't flush the toilet himself, World War III. And there was one time like he just physically he couldn't do it. So I was like, well, let's do it together. He didn't want to do it, so I flushed it. And that could have ruined our day, if I'm honest. But there's things that to a child to us, we think this is ridiculous. But to a child, it's the biggest deal as well. And yeah, I do. I think it's a skill, obviously, once they start going to school. I did read a report a couple months ago about the number of children that are going to school and not potty trained. It's a really big, well, they're classing it as an epidemic, which I do think is a bit over the top.
Yeah.
But there is a rise. And I always have to disclaimer, send children excluded. And it's because a lot of it's a hard thing to do. It is, and it is that
It's that communication, because by school they're suddenly expected to know when they need to go
everything.
and take themselves, and that's a big transition that, yeah, we're going to have fun with in
Yeah.
September, because he'll go if you tell him to, but he won't just go, I must go now. So,
Yeah, but I do think, especially a child that goes to nursery and then goes to school, there are lots of changes. Like at the moment, I've got the children in my class that I'm preparing for that
school.
official big school transition, and I said there's going to be a lot of changes, and it's hard to explain to a child that is used to the same thing every day that when you go to your school, this is going to be different. Like they've gone to view the school, they know what the school looks like, but to actually do the full day routine, they haven't done that yet. So I think it's so overwhelming for a child to wake up and a lot of children they'll stay until like the 31st of August, and like their first day at school might be the 1st or 2nd of September. So it is basically a change overnight. And there's only so many books that you can read to them about this is what it will be until they actually live the experience. And
Expect some accidents, and
yeah,
it's
it's bound to happen. I think one thing that does help a lot is having. It also does depend because some schools have school uniforms. There's a school like in our local area that don't wear school uniforms, for example. I think it is having your child prepared with clothes. Yes, there may be a teacher at the school that's like, well, it's not my job to check, but it is.
it is.
You're
They'll
dealing
change
with
clothes, not nappies, but clothes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's just about that first couple of weeks or so, especially if a child is still new to the process, it's bound to happen. I know when I was going to school as well, my mum said it to me a lot. She's like, it happened a lot. It did. And
I
like I
dread to
say to
think
her,
what
yeah.
carpet that was like. That
And
carpet
I do
time
and I
must
I
have been
say to
very
her
damp.
now, I'm
Oh,
like, yeah, but like if we look like 20 years on, did it really matter? Um and things like
no one
that.
remembers.
But and
Yeah.
that just shows it's such a small period of your time. But oh, my mum remembers it. I'm like, well, if you remember it, I was the one it was happening to. Okay, the children were laughing at me, not you. But it is something that eventually you'll wake up one day and you'll realize like it's been a week and I haven't had to change any clothes.
Mm,
Nothing was wet, and like it will be that like breath of like relief where you're like, oh, we made it.
yeah.
It can take a
There is
while, but
light at the end of the tunnel. It
always,
it will be fine.
always. It may look
Yeah.
really, really small from a distance, but the light is there. It is 100%.
Yeah. As my mum keeps saying, there's not many 15-year-olds in nappies, so he'll get it at some point. And I'm like,
Exactly. And I definitely agree. And it's just a very rare case or certain cases where, yeah, there's a child that will be older as well. But for the most part, by the time, yeah, by the time even that first year of reception is done, you're like, oh, we're done. Night wees might still have, it's still a thing.
that's a whole other, yeah.
that's a whole
Bedwetting,
different
that can
kettle
go
of
on
bed.
and on and
Yeah,
on. But yeah,
different area, but for in
that's a whole other
specifically,
podcast.
yeah. Whereas specifically potty training is
Yeah.
something that potty it's a thing that small children do, that they do eventually. Like, I couldn't tell you the last time I sat on, well, no, that's a lie. I did sit on a potty a couple of weeks ago just to show
Okay.
somebody how to use the potty, because they just weren't, they were like, I will not sit. I was like, I'll have a turn. Look, let me show you. And me and my big self trying to sit on this potty, and having one of my staff members come in and go, no, what are you doing? I said, I'm teaching by example here. But it is, it's a skill that takes time. It does take time, but it is achievable, 100%.
Yeah, stay with it,
Yes.
guys. We've got
Keep going.
this.
Keep going.
Oh,
Perseverance is key.
thank you so much, Lauren. We could clearly talk about potties all day. I hope that this has reassured you out there. Anyone going through the hell that I'm going through, it won't last forever, and they won't remember. So yeah, just stick with it. Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
That's
And
okay.
yes, we will see you in nursery with pants tomorrow for more of the
Perfect.
same. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Please like and subscribe to my mum's podcast.